if the teleworkers have been working very diligently, if they can come and join us, that would be fantastic.
Hello, Monica, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very well.
That's good. You've had the PM with you.
Sorry, you won't.
Oh, you sorry.
Okay, welcome everybody. This is our research and revive session for Teleworking Week. It's the Friday afternoon, as Phil Cox reminded me. Right, Phil, yes. Reminded me that it's Friday afternoon, so we'll try and keep things pretty speedily along the way. Thanks for joining us, and on behalf of RDA Central Coast and Innovate Central, I welcome you to this final event. We'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, Darkinjung people, whose ancestors, both past and present, on whose land we're holding this event today. We'd like to acknowledge them. We'd also like to acknowledge our important guests who've taken the time to come along today to help us research and revive. In what has turned out to be a pretty memorable week in many ways for the Central Coast. And I think it's probably the first region in Australia to have done anything like this. I'd like to recognise, first of all, a great supporter of teleworking and the rollout of NBN in this community. That's our member for Robertson, Deborah O'Neill. Thank you, Deborah, for joining us this afternoon. I'd also like to recognise Phil Cox, the Director of Hunter Institute of TAFE, and the wonderful support that TAFE have given this project over many months now. When I approached TAFE about some assistance in helping us with the innovation plan, Phil was very keen to support that and was able to release our face of teleworking, as he's turned out to be, even though I can't believe that a face like that can actually come up on television okay. But it does. The voice of teleworking, Kev Bryan. So thanks, Phil, for the support that TAFE have given, not only just this week, but the weeks leading up to this. I believe Paul Anderson's joining us. Dave Abrams running late, but he'll be here too from RDA, the chairman. Darren Webber's an apology. Chris Holstein and Chris Harcher were to be here, but I don't see them. And also from Telstra, Chris Cusack and Angela Field. Terry Ruffles, the board member from Central Coast Leagues. Thanks, Terry, for joining us this afternoon, and we'll acknowledge our supporters shortly. And to Paul Hughes and Faye Toomey from the summer staff here, who have been supporting this particular hub at the Least Club. We'd also like to acknowledge our supporters and sponsors who dug into their coffers to help us bring some bits and pieces to this event. First of all, supporters for our biggest morning tea that ran yesterday, Market Basket and Co, Currajong Kitchen, Cinema Presido, Edelong, and Central Coast Mariners. So thanks to you guys. Very worthy cause too. I personally, along with our working committee, would particularly like to thank Telstra, who supplied the equipment for us to be able to receive a great Wi-Fi service here over this week. We received a few complaints about bits and pieces. It was pretty cold at the while actually, but that was one of the complaints. But there was no complaints about the speed that we're getting from from Telstra's hubs that they supplied to us very generously to support this. And so thank you very much for Telstra. They've been great, not only through that support, but also for support for some of their workers that have participated in the teleworking experience this week. So thanks to Telstra. Is Chris here? No? Angel? No? Okay, where are the real workers? We've got a couple in. Good work. Thanks, Telstra. To Central Coast Leagues Club, they gave us this facility here at Gosford to utilise our telework experiment, and they have a mind to look at some opportunities like this, and I believe the board are very keen to look at those sorts of opportunities in terms of utilising their facility better, and we thank Ben Kerry and your board for the support that you've given this week. We couldn't really have happened in the slim budget that we have without your support, so thanks very much. To IntraServe, who helped us out with an electricity bill that went a bit over budget. Thanks to them, and also thanks to Daniel and Co for the announcement they made at our launch, which was about developing a permanent centre at North Warren. To Organise Internet, for those who haven't been to our website, I think you'll find it quite impressive. So if you haven't been there, definitely go and have a look, and we're hoping to maintain the momentum that we've created over this week through that website. I mentioned TAFE's pretty heavy involvement in this week, not only in the support that they gave with Kevin's time and effort in the lead up to this, which was most of a good part of last year, and secondly, Kevin's ongoing involvement this week and in the working committee. And also to Deb, not only has she been supporting in getting all the big infrastructure into this region in terms of allowing and opening our eyes to the possibilities that telework can bring this community, but also for the support that she's given for the festivities that we're going to partake in after this. Also as important were the organisations who participated in the working committee, and I'm going to make special mention of those people and their organisations because they've met every week for an hour to bring some of this to a conclusion, and I'd like to acknowledge their organisations and the people individually because they've done a fantastic job. To my organisation, Enterprise Connect, to RDA Sydney through Mark Wigley, he's been our connection with the Sydney group and has undertaken some pretty worthwhile contacts in terms of us putting us in contact strategically with some of the groups that are trying to overcome the issues in Sydney. To Helen Polkinghorn from Central Coast Regional Development Corporation. Thank you, Helen. Helen was specifically been responsible for the feedback questions, and for all the things that we've done. You're going to get a bit of a snippet of that a bit later, but what I say that that's probably the most important information that we're going to get from this week is the feedback we got from the participants. So thank you, Helen, for your chewiness and your drive by being involved. To Eddie Bernard from Trade and Investment New South Wales, thank you, Eddie. Eddie principally assisted with us to understand what we needed in terms of the technology, and that's worked a treat. So thanks for the detail that you went into to make sure that happened. First, thanks, Eddie. To Greg Coombs from Regional Development Australia, he's made sure that we didn't spend any more money than we got, and I'm thankful to say that we came right on budget, which is pretty unusual. Thanks, Greg. To the face of telework, I've mentioned a couple of times, but Kevin Bryant is very passionate about this particular project personally. He travelled up and down the train for 10 years or so, and he knows what paying feels like. Kevin, thanks very much. Kevin was responsible primarily for the liaison between the clubs in terms of setting up the facilities. Now the next two young ladies probably should take all the glory, to be quite honest. because they've done the majority of the work. And I refer to Sam Babcock from Adelaide Central. Sam worked under extreme pressure. Extreme pressure, and came up trumps for us all. So everything else that I haven't mentioned, apart from Brooke's contribution, she picked up, and there was a lot of that falling through the cracks, I might say. So thanks, Sam, and I think in both Brooke and in Sam, we can see the future of the Central Coast, and you know, all is well in this region if we're in their hands. To Brooke, Simmons from Pursuit Communications, fantastic job. Over and above what we expected from you. And in fact, you know, with my starting withdrawal for a couple of weeks in the progress, we took over the you know, project manager's role without too much hesitation, and led us very magnificently. So thank you. All right. This is also about research, and one of the interesting things that we've been able to do is to engage with Newcastle University. Both Martin and Ashish are starting to undertake a research project in this area, and we'd like them to spend a few minutes now talking about some of that. So thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. This is more of a conversation, dialogue as to what we're doing at Uni Newcastle in terms of research on television and working with them and the team of academics who are working. So I'll briefly provide you an overview of what we're doing and where we are at and what the projects that we're taking in the future. So briefly, we are a team of 4 academics from different disciplines, 2 of whom are sitting in front of you: Ashish Malik, my colleague, Associate Professor Martin Fitzgerald, and Anton Chris, who a lot of you already know. And we have another person, PJ Rosenberg, he specializes in services marketing, and we're looking at his report from how, from an internal perspective, how he can provide value for selling the concept of internally within organizations. Martin is, as all of you know, that he's got an interest in leadership, organizational behavior, and decision making in organizations, research areas. And Anton needs the least introduction here. We're also looking at teleworking as a critical enabler for innovation and improving resilient regions that support innovation. So Anton's work is predominantly in innovations. We're looking at how telework can be a catalyst to boost innovation. So that leaves me the life fitting. I'm looking at the people aspect of telework. There are a number of people issues relating to the individual's needs as well as how they fit into the organization and manage telework, amongst other things, from a social science point of view. So Mark will take us through more about it, but a little bit more about the research. We're looking at it from a multidisciplinary angle because of the way the entire literature has been organized so far. And Martin will tell you about the last 40 years of research that telework has witnessed. A bit more here. But broadly, we're looking at 3 levels: the organization level, the group level, and the individual level, the drivers, the participants, etc. The reason why we're doing that is because it's going to help us to design and implement appropriate choices that are relevant for people most, rather than implementing something like the best practice model, which we can emulate from the best or that's been done somewhere else. That is not going to do it because the cost is unique, the context is unique, the composition of people are different. So we need to provide and develop regional contextualized solutions for teleworking. And for us to be able to do that, we've embarked on 3 sort of broad programs of research, one of which Mark was already been going through. So the first project that Martin is looking at is to do a thematic analysis of the factors that influence the uptake of telework in general, and a particular emphasis on Australian region and regional Australia and so on. This is going to tell us about the critical success factors, etc. But the second project which we want to kick off is using the ABS data from the last census survey, which is the 2011 one, which includes Central Coast as a regional area. So we have, for the first time, regional statistics on Central Coast. So we can look at the nature and extent of telework that is potentially happening here. Some of the earlier studies you have known, and for the figure of 40,000 people commute on F3, but we really don't know that was back in 2006. What is the nature and extent of those people? So that's the second project. And the last project that we have planned, maybe towards the end of the year or early next year, is to do a pilot study of teleworkers, case organizations who are supporting the basic telework to identify how we can learn from them, how we can develop solutions that are contextually relevant. So I'll hand it over to Martin to tell you a bit more about thematic analysis that he's done.
Thanks, Ashish. When we first started this project, as Ashish was saying, we really wanted to look at the literature around this. Believe it or not, in the early stages, there was over 19,000 pieces of work that was identified to help us. And given the fact that we on the Central Coast need a program and a design of an implementation of a program that is quite context specific, we've had to go through certain layering to ensure that the research that we're finding is going to be relevant to us. As Ashish was saying, that we've split it into 3 levels. So we're looking at the organisational level, how they're approaching and successfully implementing telework. At the group level, and that's teams, groups, management teams, for example, but also at the individual level. At the individual level, this is where the vast majority of the work is being done. And the vast majority of work has been focused on the workers, what they need, what they want, etc. In comparison, little work is being done around managers and managers' decision-making and senior executive decision-making around this area. We're using at the moment, one large database. We're going to increase that to 10 large research databases. So this will be a very comprehensive literature review. Already we're seeing themes emerge. The first theme is that there is absolutely no universal acceptance of what is telework. And of course, that makes the challenge even more poignant for us, because we need to make sure that there is lessons to be learned from how we define telework. How we deal with a worker who's working 1 day a week compared with 4 days a week, or somebody who's working in a different country. Very different factors and very different issues we need to bear in mind. Another interesting thing emerging is that telework is being used as an organisational strategy, much more than just to deal with this work-life balance quandary. What we're seeing is that the more far-reaching organisations are seeing it in terms of employee engagement strategies, perhaps retaining older, more experienced workers who want to retire but don't particularly want to finish altogether, or to engage with Gen Y, Gen Z, who are coming through, who will be demanding that they have much more flexible working arrangements. So as an organisational strategy, it's getting quite distinctive purchase. What we're seeing in the research, however, is sort of 3 broad categories. The first category are the drivers. What stimulates, what beliefs, attitudes and practices are actually informing this telework decision? As I indicated, most of the work has been done upon the workers, very little on the organisational level or the manager level. What we're seeing as far as that is concerned is the perceptions and the behaviours of individuals are very much influencing the decision making. And from somebody who studies behavioural aspects of decision making, you probably expect me to say that. But in order to successfully implement telework at this early stage, we know that we have to deal with attitudes of the individual workers, attitudes of managers, and attitudes of senior executives in implementing this. If we have the right attitude and they perceive telework as a constructive endeavour, then the chances of success are so much more. Once we've identified these drivers, we see that there are a broad range of critical success factors, and some of them I'll just give you a sample of, but some you may be surprised at, some you might think that yes, that's predictable. IT is at the top of the list, but IT is a facilitator, it's not necessarily anything more definitive. Job design, role clarity. There is a legal contract between workers and their employers. There is also a psychological contract, and a renegotiation of that psychological contract, what workers expect from their employers and vice versa, needs to be looked at if success is going to be forthcoming. Management support is absolutely critical, but management training. A lot of people talk about we must re-educate the workers. We have to do much more work with the managers, especially in the areas of trust. And what this means is that there needs to be a paradigm shift in thinking about managing time as opposed to managing results. In telework, we need to manage results. There is all too often, when we shift to a telework environment, that the managers are trying to make sure that the teleworkers are working. So the focus is on the wrong outcome. It should be on results. Policies in organisations need to be looked at. The issue of trust needs to be worked at. Structures of organisations, culture of organisations is very important. But communication comes out as probably the one of two most important issues. The nature, the frequency, the medium of communication that we engage is directly related to the critical success of the endeavour, and training and education of everyone right the way through the organisation. What we're seeing as far as telework success is concerned is that if we treat this as an IT exercise, then it is not going to have optimal chance of success. If we treat it as a change management process and treat it as a change management initiative, then we stand much more opportunity of addressing the right issues as we go through. So they're the drivers and success factors. What's interesting is that one final point I would make is the unexpected, perhaps, effects of telework that weren't anticipated, which now lead in a circular motion to indicators of success. The psychological effects of working away from your workplace. There's a lot of work that's focusing on people's decision not to engage in telework because they fear they're away from the water cooler, away from those conversations that it will damage their career prospects. And in fact, there is research in one particular study that indicated those who engage in teleworkers have to work so much more at their relationships in order to gain the same amount of promotion opportunities, etc. The other area really when we're talking about the effects is around the sociological effects. There is a sense, there's some studies that are indicating that individuals who work away have deeper issues around socialization, their social links, their social networks, and they feel that their job is more precarious than anybody else because they cannot engage in that dialogue on an ongoing basis. So psychological effects, the emotional effects of isolation, as well as the sociological effects, are all effects that have come forth. There are a number of issues around teamwork and how much more difficult it is through the virtual domain, and particularly the positive and negative effects on creativity in terms of innovation and whether they are part of an innovation strategy or whether they are in fact a hindrance. All of this, however, can be managed and managed well through design and implementation. And what we need to do through this literature review is to make sure that we identify some universal truths, but also some context-specific lessons for the test. And that will lead us on to more detailed work in the qualitative study that actually she's going to take you to now.
So the ABS survey data and the subsequent qualitative study that we have planned, I mean, you've seen the amount of literature that's on this stuff, right from 1976, 40 years thereabouts, when it was, the whole thing started when there was a shortage of gas in the US town and the telecommuting started. So it's very context specific. So that is what is driving it. And we see and believe in telework as what we see today, and we can shape it if we understand the contextual values even better, and we can make it work for us in a better way. The second wave came around in 1980s when you have Elvin Toffler's Future Shock book, the electronic cottages, and then all of that was followed by the policy approaches of how can we make telecommuting and transportation work together. Now, why I'm saying all this is because if we analyze the demographics that's proposed, we can then more specifically find solutions that are relevant. That is the first one. And just as of today, I have finally managed to get access to the ABS census data. It took me about a good struggle of 3 hours to get back and forth with the approvals. But finally, there's things, so work's going to be very soon. And the last part is the qualitative, because we've got the themes from the literature there, we've got the demographics of people on the coast, and then we can map what's been most useful, what can we learn from the literature and apply to the coast. This is where we get more insights by interviewing people who are practicing teleworking on the coast, or companies who are practicing teleworking. Once we get that kind of enriched picture, then we are in a position to maybe suggest some good practices rather than best practices.
So really where we're going from here is as Ashish was saying, that given the fact that we want a context-specific solution to this particular region, we want to engage with government, industry and other stakeholders to help us design that qualitative research that we're going to take on towards the end of the year. This is going to be around about August or September. We're looking at disseminating the results of the literature review within 2 months. We will, of course, be writing in the academic style for the academic audience, but at the same time we're producing a stakeholder version so we can disseminate it out to all interested parties. And at each stage of the research program, we will work through and with Graham to make sure you're fully informed and fully part of this process. We do not want this to be ivory tower academic research. We're all applied researchers here, and we want to find real-world solutions to the real-world problems. Thank you.
Here to that. That's fantastic, guys, and we look forward to the result. Any questions before they get up and go into the audience? Any questions of some of the aspects that they raised there?
We can talk offline.
Nobody likes asking academics questions. I feel like they might be stupid. Thanks, guys. Well done. I'd now like Brooke and Sam to come forward and share with us some of the results of this week with you. Thanks, guys.
So if I could invite the teleworkers from today to come forward and this week to come forward, please, and we'll get their feedback from today and this week, that would be wonderful. Or if you're seated towards the front, that's fine as well. So we've got Holly. Holly, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Holly. I work in the Office of the Small Business Commissioner, and I've just been at the telework today.
And Graham.
Good afternoon, I'm Graham Johnston. I work for Commander or Primates. We're a competitor to Telstra.
And I believe we have Aaron sitting at the table there who's worked at Lyon and Gosford.
Yes.
And was also a very willing participant for some media coverage for us this week, so thank you, Aaron. Would you like to introduce yourself and your title?
I work in digital marketing, mainly in North Sydney, and yeah, it was just good that my partner was out of town this week that I could participate, so yeah, that's about what I'd say.
And next to Aaron we have Deborah.
Again, Deborah from News Limited. Usually work in Surrey now, so it's a nice change.
Deborah, if you'd like to come to the front, and Aaron, and we'll just get your thoughts on the week. So Graham, if I can start with you and Holly, how did you hear about telework week?
I think I've probably heard about it on Twitter, I'm guessing. Followed quite a few of the Central Coast Twitter accounts. So it's probably through your own Twitter account, follow. So yeah, it was
New South Wales American Investment. Worked here as a green analyst this week. It's my background. And then the department obviously was
Hi, my name is Amy Newberg, so I'm a polygon video conferencing way manager, and I think it was in news.
That's correct, yes. So, what's been everybody's overall thoughts for the week? Deborah, I can start with you.
It's been great. It's only 4 hours. And it's just been, apart from being on quieter, it's been one.
Aaron, if I can ask you the comparison between Gosford and Wyong,
A bit quiet for a while. Not so interview goes still there.
Very cold, it's good.
It was. Yeah. So, I suppose that I like more Wilson than the rest of the promotion, so, yeah.
anyone else?
Yep, I thought it was a great idea. Steve tells me. Look, I've created built on just quite a bit of a usual policy environment. But the impact to the actual work, very output, like, hour per hour, from the present. Doing the same job, following the same systems. You've got a PC, it's all working fine, speeds are good. Our own trouble, but it was good. So yeah, no impact. It was pleasure, it was all good.
Or if I can start with you and have everyone follow. Would you recommend teleworking to your colleagues?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, similar to Deborah, I said 4 hours of travel. And apart from that, I felt really professional to my body and I just traveled 2 hours. I got even more efficient because I planned what I was going to do today, what it was for me. So yeah, and no distractions in the office, no interruptions, so everybody.
I'll second that. I think one criticism, one tiny criticism is maybe too quiet. I mean, you've got to get that fine balance. You don't want it too noisy because you can't get in and work them, but there's a balance to be had there. I'd sort of saved about 4 hours, but I think there's the time saving, there's the money saving. But after driving up the F3 on a Friday afternoon, after being stuck in the traffic for 2 hours, I get home, I am exhausted just from the headlights of the cars and everything else. It's so tiring. So I'll be getting home later, I'll be fresh and hazy, so I'm really happy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think some of the others in the last one, you got the time saving, which is big plus. You're local, we never see this new most of the time. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we were in people's mindset around saving myself on the day. Great set the previous day, there's no impact on productivity to that to be should do things well out unnecessary to not waste things up and I'll be that in 2 days when you can see unnecessary leaving I definitely recommend that you do mix of networking and using
Oh, without doubt. I like to come in there, there's no sort of engagement, like the gentleman came up the front was talking about the water cooler conversations. You don't get water cooler conversations, so you are sort of down doing what it's doing. And it's not just the 4 hours, but you point out this afternoon, I'll go home, cook dinner. I'll be able to go home and cook dinner with that. God, you've got to drink shovel, crack pocket on the table. Because I've got really time to do it, and when you get home 6:35, okay, my kids are now grown up. Other people's parts, I've got sort of family sort of thing. It's much nicer to have the time when you actually do it.
Deborah, if I can ask you, what would you like from a permanent teleworking job? As a facilities, yes.
Probably, it is a bit quiet. It's something that I feel has to the normal office being.
And Aaron, just saying, what would you, because you work remote, everyone describe teleworking in one word?
Refreshing.
Right, and just a word to the audience here. These guys got 3 minutes of warning for this. There was method behind my madness. I wanted their answers to be as honest as possible. So thank you very much. And if we could give them a round of applause because we have their So Samantha's going to be sharing with you now her findings from the week.
Okay, so over the course of the week, all participants were sent a survey. So at the moment, we've received roughly 40 out of the 60 surveys. So I've just put together a bit of an overview so you can see what it is. Okay. So we had 60 people who stopped the commute this week. These people were in roles that were really varied, from directors to interns, assistant regional managers and business owners. We had a huge range of companies participating from, for example, ANZ, KC Editing Services and Railcorp. Together they worked 399 hours on the Central Coast, which saved 91 hours of commuting time, which is quite significant. This included 60 hours saved from commuting by train, 29 hours in the car and 2 by bus. Some of the things that the teleworkers valued most were the opportunity to engage with others, their quiet space, no distractions, that was more particularly from one-on participants, more time at home with family, sleeping in, fast internet speed, the facilities, ease of access and the location. The things that concerned them were security, loss of privacy with being on the phone in a small area. There was some connection issues with particularly government employees. They had quite a few issues with connecting to their remote access. Also the room temperature, ergonomics, so just the desk and chairs. Okay, so how did your productivity whilst teleworking compare with your productivity at work? And we were about 58% said it was better. We probably, I think it's 18% saying much better, so that's really good. No one said it was a lot worse. That looks like it's about 4% that said it was worse. Everybody agreed that they had more time to work. More time at home to spend with their family. On a scale of 1 to 5, they had to rate the degree of which their teleworking experience was successful, and very successful was in at about 52%, moderately successful, about 35%. There was probably 10% that said it was very unsuccessful, and that was because they showed up at the hubs and weren't able to connect to their server, so unfortunately they then had to travel to their workplace. I just put 2 points in here. There was in the survey opportunity to write comments and describe their experience and whether they would telework again, and 100% of the participants who have filled out the survey said that they absolutely would. So these are just some snippets. This bottom one, yes, I would, because I found a change of environment and that I approached tasks in a different way, which improved my outlook on the project I was working on. I would also appreciate time without interruptions, in which I could concentrate for longer periods, producing reports and briefs which require time to think without interruption. So there was some really good feedback. This was just a small snippet. We then also sent the survey to the managers as well. We haven't received a lot of response in regards to that, but the responses we did get were positive. So the things that they valued was positive environment, there was a lot of things that didn't include, but we'll continue chasing everyone up and then compile it in a report at the end.
Thanks very much. Any questions? Okay, thanks, Sam. Thanks, Brooke. Just before I forget, could we also put our hands together for our two young rovers who worked our two venues this week. They came in at pretty short notice, not knowing anything about what we were doing last Friday, and had to get up to speed pretty quickly from then on. So I'd like to acknowledge the work that our young trainees from TAFE, who are studying IT at the moment, participated in our program, both Jacob Wong and Anthony here across the bank. Now I'd like to call upon our innovation and NBN champion and hats for just about everything, RDA chairman, Dave Abrams, to say a few words. Dave, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. But I'm very aware. Thank you very much. Those, Brooke, Sam, fantastic stuff. And I'm very aware that there are people in Canberra and Sydney, in Melbourne, watching this event. I don't know if they are hearable because the audio is a bit different, but I think that highlights the significance of the national agenda and I understand our local member. We'll put that into some respect. I'd like to acknowledge Deb and the work that she's done in this. I'd also like to acknowledge the general manager of the Philosophy Council, the senior members and junior members who got involved in this project. It's very significant. It's the number one priority on the Central Coast for leveraging the Indian investment. It's low-hanging fruit, but tasteful. We'll all agree on that, and I think all of that cluster of people. As far as the regional agenda, I think it's going to very shortly become possibly our most innovative economic development strategy and implementation for many years. I'd like to highlight Innovate Central and particularly in their modus operandi, how they work. Flexible organisation, grabs things when opportunities arise, uses the strategic knowledge that is non-central, and then actually makes something happen. Now we go out and we go and find some money for it, even though a small amount, it works very well. So I'd like to just congratulate everyone who's involved in the whole thing. This event and what's happened this week will, I'm quite sure, be of some significance for you. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Yes, I think the economic potential of this particular project is not really realised. I said at the opening launch that if we're able to capture 12% of our workforce to do some of this some of the time, we're creating a BHP on the Central Coast. That's how significant economically it could be for this region. So I think it really needs to be taken seriously by everyone concerned here in the region. I'd now like to call upon Phil Cox, the Director of Hunter TAFE, to say a few words as one of our major supporters. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Graham. Some of the one we tried to do that was Friday afternoon. It's very short. But can I acknowledge Deb as well? I think your support to make these things happen. And there's so much happening at the Central Coast lately. I wasn't fortunately down here. This was last week for the innovation plan and the richness of the research that was behind that. That was carried out by the Research Foundation, Carolyn. That was just fantastic. What's happening with the teleworking is really unbelievable. And all that activity around the NBN, I think, is a real positive. So thanks for your support there. And I know you have great support of TAFE and education generally on the coast. For us, I mean, TAFE committing Kevin to was a pretty easy thing. He was doing a bit of telecommuting himself, so he enjoyed the opportunity to do that. But we're a little bit selfish. I mean, Kevin's plugged in literally to our digital learning strategy, and we're taking a lot out of this, leveraging off his access to the data and what's been happening in this regard. I think you'll all agree we're giving people options on how they work in the future, more and more. times. But even more important for us is how people learn. And I think people are demanding, not asking anymore, they're demanding the opportunities to learn differently. So I think this all fits in a nice package for us. So I'd just like to say, Graham, to you and the team, congratulations on this fantastic outcome, and you've done a great job with all this together. Thank you.
So I invite Kev, the face of teleworking, to make a few presentations.
I'd just like to present something to the sponsors, Telstra. So, Angie's not here. No. No? Right. Thank you. And to the two venues, Central Coast Leagues Club. Kerry, would you like to say something about it? And the last one is for Tony Drew, thank you. Tony Drew at Wyong Race Club is not here, but I'm glad you all came. So thank you very much for making this happen.
Okay, just bear with us. There are 45,000 commuters commuting each day out of this region to other places to work. We have 3,300 New South Wales state government workers commuting each day out of this region. As I said, if we reach our 12% national target, we'll have a bigger impact in this region than BHP had on Newcastle. We're definitely working, we're on the tip and on the cusp, this region, of developing a new ecosystem of workforce participation. The regional experience for me this, or the personal experience, I should say, for me this week, were the interactions that I was able to make at lunchtime around the table with all the different people working here. One, the conversation was quite different compared to where you are at the office, very much different. And I guess in my role as an innovation facilitator, I'm looking for those sort of opportunities, I know, but nevertheless, the networking opportunities were very vast and very rich. And to give you a sort of sense for that, I met Garth here in this on the first day, and Garth has been sent me a 10-page document this afternoon outlining his business plan for setting up a work hub in Erina. I met Adian, who works for UGL, who's an engineer, and he's working on some very major sustainable energy projects around the nation. In this region, although I might say he emailed me today, he was going to come this afternoon, but he got caught up in the traffic in Sydney. But he did make the point that and maybe we need to be careful as well, that on his trip home yesterday from Wyong to his local residence, he got caught up in the traffic on Wyong Road and suggested it was just as bad as Sydney. So we do have some challenges. I also met Alan, who, as it turned out, was the former Commonwealth Ombudsman and Deputy Chair of the ACCC. Now, for a humble facilitator to rub shoulders with such a gentleman yesterday at lunch was quite inspiring, and he lives around the corner here. These are the opportunities and the collaborative opportunities that I see happening from these places. It's not just the time saving, but for others, and I'm sure the people that work here will have an opportunity to rub shoulders with each other more often. It's been a great week, and to help close us out today, I'd like to invite our local member, champion in her own right in this particular area, Debo Newville, will sign off for us today.
Thank you very much, Graham, and good afternoon to all of you here. It's a formal occasion, and I always say that I want to acknowledge that we're gathering on the land of the Dark young people, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. When we gather, it's good to do that because it connects us to something. And ultimately, this whole venture is about connection. It's about connection speeds, but it's about connection with people, It's about connection with the possibilities of what we can imagine for ourselves, for our future, for our children, for our community. So this is not just about business or people, and these things don't exist separately. It's a complete integration. And what we've heard this afternoon in the comments from those who shared, the repetition of, and this is sort of soundtrack, I saved 4 hours travelling today. I saved 4 hours travelling today. Just hear it as the soundtrack in the back of our life. When we save a couple of thousand people 4 hours travelling a day, look at the potential we have unleashed for our community. Look at what we've put back into families. Look at what we've taken off the road in terms of the physical impact, safety. There are so many benefits in what we're doing. And it seems to me that teleworking, telecommuting, the NBN in Gosford, the Gigabyte City, we are a city whose time has come. This is an idea whose time has come. This is a place in which the things that will build a better community for other communities around Australia can be seen right at the vanguard of that. We are leading the charge in terms of how to live in a beautiful region, how to create employment in a beautiful region. And I did notice the comments, well, I don't get to see this every day outside the door. When you have a country as big and as beautiful as this is, when you have people who love where they live and a real determination to connect to place, it doesn't seem too much for me on the cusp of the NBN rolling out nationally that we should begin to think and do exactly as has been done here in Gosford. And I have to say that we're doing that with the speed, and thank you to Telstra for your contribution to this event, but with the speed here today that is nothing like it can be in a matter of a few weeks, right here in Gosford, because we are leading the charge with that high-speed, super-fast broadband right here in Gosford, the Gigabyte City. So just in a few weeks, I expect that there should be some young budding business person. I tell you what, I've got the entrepreneurial spirit. If I have a bit more time, I will be setting up a broadband, breakfast with broadband, lunch with broadband, dinner with broadband business in the middle of Gosford, because once people taste this, they will not want to go back. They won't want to go back to slow speeds. They won't want to go back to travelling to Sydney. However, if they do, there is good news there, and I want to just segue to the fact that the Prime Minister did visit the electorate today for a brief period of time to make sure that the information about our investment in physical infrastructure to improve lives of people who will choose to commute and who will seek, the further development of their careers, or go down to family on the other side of Sydney, or indeed tourists who might want to come and visit us. So today was a confirmation by the visit from the Prime Minister and the Minister for Infrastructure to make sure that we get this message out into our community that the $600 million secured in the budget from this Labor government to improve the lives of people who do have to travel in a physical and real way. So $400 million, with the state government coming on board, $400 million, and Transurban to create 7.7 kilometres of tunnel underneath Pennant Hills Road, takes out 22 sets of traffic lights and massively improves connection. The A3, M2, M7 link, basically, essentially a huge productivity improvement for the country to take traffic off that local road and make a national highway that allows you to skirt Sydney. It's a fantastic investment. But for us, critically here on the Central Coast, we've missed the testimony of this wonderful man who's just been speaking about coming back from Sydney. And no doubt he'll get caught trying to get on the F3 at that exit at the top of Carrion. And that's what the $200 million is invested in, widening the road, Summersby, widening the road up towards Bournevale, and getting 2 lanes off the freeway there so that it's safer for the exit. I mean, to see the traffic jam going downhill to Moonee Bridge on a Friday afternoon is pretty much an indication that the bickering and the lack of vision of former days, with things that needed to get done, didn't get done, that time's over. This project, that project, investment in infrastructure, the NBN, F3, M2, and in creating the opportunity for teleworking to happen, is a vision of the sorts of things that I think we have a right to on the Central Coast, and I couldn't be prouder to be associated with everyone in this room who not only dreams about what's possible, but actually gets the shoulder to the wheel and makes it happen. So thank you to Central Coast Links Club for your contribution, the Kerry being here today and the board for taking a punt on an idea that perhaps not everybody around the table understood. Can I thank Graham for your leadership over a long period of time in this field of innovation, field for the participation of TAFE, and there are really significant innovative projects underway there that we'll have to speak about again very, very shortly. To Brooke and your team for telling this story, because telling the story is an important part of capturing people's imaginations and giving a sense of hope in a climate that's often quite bred on fear. It's cheaper, it's certainly dramatic, but it doesn't really create very much. Hope is a much better medium, I believe, and you're certainly creating a medium of hope for people on the coast. To all the telecommunities who shared their stories and took a punt on this, fantastic. Can I also acknowledge Anthony Penny, who I met when I was here just the other day, who did a fantastic job helping people out in this particular site. And it is lovely, I have to say. When it comes to a little parochialism, I'm always going to say Gosford's much better than White. And just think of it, Gosford is a white city, but even the letters line up perfectly. So thanks once again, and with these few words, I close Teleworking Week on the Central Coast for 2013. May it end one week, but begin a whole journey for a long period of time of success in this area of the Central Coast.
Thank you, Deborah, for those words. Brooke, would you like to invite everybody to the next? Give us some instructions. We're all invited.
Yes. If you'd like to follow us to Revival Bar now, we'll be joining Graham and the rest of the committee for some celebratory drinks to celebrate the end of Teleworking Week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Geez, Chris, I was going to have to take that myself if you didn't turn up.
David, how are you, mate?